Good afternoon, distinguished panelists, peace ambassadors and friends of UPF, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our 8th and last session of a series of ILC conferences which took place over the last 3 days. I'm Elisabeth from Austria, and presently I serve as the president of the Austrian Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. I will be your moderator for this conference. First, some technical explanations. The conference will be held in English and one presentation will be in Russian. So please choose one of the languages by clicking on the globe icon, which you will find at the bottom of the screen. Translation will be available into Russian and into English. Further, if you have questions to one of the speakers' presentations, please write your question in the Q&A section, which you also find at the bottom of the screen. There will be several presentations of 7 minutes each, and after that there will be the opportunity for speakers to answer your questions. In the chat you will find the bios of the speakers and you can communicate with the organizers. The topic of today's conference is Beyond Borders, the Peace Road Initiative.
Recording in progress.
The Peace Road Initiative dates back to 1981. So 40 years ago, our founders, Father and
Excuse me, you are muted.
Elisabeth, you're muted. Elisabeth, your microphone is on. Okay.
The Peace Road Initiative dates back to 1981, when the founders of UPF, Father and Mother Moon, announced the International Peace Highway project, beginning with a tunnel between Japan and a reunified Korea. It is a project that will link the world together through a global system of highways and railways, thus helping to create an interdependent, interconnected and harmonious world. In order to promote this ideal, Peace Road activities are being held around the world every year, connecting people beyond borders to overcome the legacy of conflicts from past centuries. In this session, panelists will present the Peace Road vision through projects in Russia, Albania, as well as a project which brought together Austrians, people from the Czech Republic, and Germans. In order to get an impression of the Peace Road Initiative, let's watch a short video.
During the height of summer, a race took off to reach the dream of peace and unification on the Korean peninsula. We have longed for the day when we tear down the barriers and ride across the peninsula without obstacles. Finally, a new journey for peace began together with young international students. Just as we dreamed, the spring of peace that began on the Korean peninsula is spreading throughout the world. The summer of 2020 marks 70 years since the Korean War. One Korea Peace Road 2020 held the hopes of the world's citizens close to its bosom. We resolved to achieve Korean reunification and prayed for the countless soldiers who sacrificed their lives for peace. Let's march toward unification with hope. Even in the sweltering heat, we did not tire. Not even the coronavirus pandemic could stop our advancement. Local bicycle club members took the lead and cheered us on.
welcomed very warmly and were invited to come again in a bigger team, international team.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Katsumi Otsuka. He is currently the chair of the Universal Peace Federation in Europe and Middle East. A citizen of Japan, Dr. Otsuka graduated from Kanazawa University in Japan and from the Unification Theological Seminary in the United States. Among others, he served as the president of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification in Japan, and also as president of the Cooperation for Building the Japan-Korea Tunnel, and as the leader of numerous organizations, all focusing on the reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Dr. Otsuka, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cook. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here together with you to introduce the Peace Road, idea of Peace Road and the vision of Peace Road. The idea of Peace Road or International Highway is a vision to connect all people of the world together. The idea announced first in 1981 in the International Conference of Unity of Sciences by late Dr. Sun Myung Moon and his wife, Dr. Hak Jae-han Moon. They proposed a project by which all people of the world could be connected beyond ethnic, cultural, religious differences. Let me quote Dr. Moon's words. This tunnel can be helped make the world a single community at last. Think of how much money the world is wasting on war. The time has come for nations to work together for peace. Dr. Moon especially emphasized the importance of the construction of the undersea tunnel between Korea and Japan. And later, he suggested the construction of the Bering Strait Bridge and Tunnel between Eurasian continent and Northern American continent in 2005, in the inauguration of the Universal Peace Federation. The idea may sound unrealistic or just a dream for some people. But let me share something about the concrete progress of this project. Right after Dr. Moon announced the undersea tunnel project, he suggested to start the research survey to find out the good route of the undersea tunnel between Korea and Japan. Since then, UPF Japan and the UPF International, UPF Friends have been supporting the idea of the undersea tunnel greatly. For your reference, Victor, can you show the previous one? Yeah, oh, no, next one and next one. Oh yeah, this one. For your references, the world's first tunnel recorded in the human history was made 4,000 years ago, which was the undersea tunnel, underwater tunnel in Euphrates River. This tunnel connected the Babylonian palace and temples. This tunnel played a role to connect physical politics and the spiritual religions. According to the scientific research report for the undersea tunnel construction, there are some constructive advantages points we must promote and some challenges we must overcome. What we understand first was the seen from the technical viewpoint, the undersea tunnel project construction is very realistic plan. The Seikan undersea tunnel in Japan finished in 1988, which was the longest in the world at that time, connected Hokkaido Island and mainland of Japan. The technology of the tunnel construction has dramatically developed. The longest tunnel in the world runs through the Swiss Alps, the Eurotunnel, which connects the Britain and European continent, is also a great achievement of the humankind in the world history. The biggest challenge is whether the people of both countries want it or not. This was a very big problem. Considering the complex relationship between South Korea and Japan, how to inspire the people in both sides of the Tsushima Channel was the greatest challenge for completing the construction. To that end, the Construction Promotion Council are being created, both nations, and they have been engaged in the various promotion activities in both governmental and the civilians levels. For realizing this goal, UPF Japan formed the national promotion movement of the undersea tunnel construction in both Japanese Diet and local assemblies. The Japan-Korea Undersea Tunnel Promotion Council was established in 2008. The Parliamentarians Federation to support the construction was established in the Japanese Diet as a bipartisan federations. This project has become one of the biggest political debates in the city mayor election in Korea this year in the city of Busan, which locates in the southern part of Korean Peninsula. Liberal camp was essentially very, very negative towards this project, but the conservative camp promoted or proposed this idea to the people of Busan. There is no doubt that the Korean-Japan undersea tunnel will surely benefit both nations, not only physically, but also spiritually. The essence of the Peace Road project is to link people of the world, especially to connect the two sides of the hostile relationship for realizing the upgraded peace. In the BC 2 centuries, the Han Dynasty of China expanded its trade network, creating Silk Road. That Silk Road worked from around BC 200 to 18th century AD. The Roman built the great network of roads throughout the empire, connecting Western Europe to the Middle East and Northern Africa. The Roman road network was one of the foundation of the Pax Romana, Peace of Rome. The vision of the Peace Road initiative goes beyond the material desire for the economic and the political benefit. Rather focuses on the spiritual dimension, which aims to tear down the wall, which divides us with racism, culture differences, and misunderstanding, etc., etc. Let me share some of my experience in Japan for organizing the Peace Road. In 2013, one Korean Japanese began to ride a bicycle with a small number of friends from the eastern end of Japan to the western end of Japan. Japan is very long archipelago countries, hoping to realize the Japan-Korea undersea tunnel. He was greatly inspired by the late Dr. Moon's spirit on the first anniversary of his ascension. No one showed concern in the beginning, but this attempt or trial gradually attracted the people and became a national movement in Japan as a peace bike activities. Peace bike attracted many local assemblies, religious leaders, and medias. Being greatly impressed by their effort for the peace, Dr. Hak Ja-han Moon, Mother Moon, renamed it and upgraded it to a larger project. That is a Peace Road event. She encouraged to organize this project, Peace Road, all around the world. The Korean government highly evaluated the Peace Road Korean movement as a well-organized peace movement by young people, and gives the financial support to our annual Peace Road event in Korea. It is very meaningful that many foreign students in Korea participate in this event also. Russian UPF members organized the Peace Road even in the capital city of North Korea, Pyongyang, in 2019. It was a very big surprise for us that the North Korean government approved this event and welcomed our Russian Peace Road runners. I'd like to send my deep thanks to North Korean government and Russian UPF members to make this event possible. It was also a very historic event that the UPF Balkan successfully organized the Peace Road event in 2017, connecting 6 nations in the West Balkans where they had severe warfare after the downfall of the Yugoslavia. One small step in Japan has become a gigantic global event. I'd like to say it was 1801, 220 years ago from now, that Napoleon was proposed the construction of the double tunnels. It took about 200 years to complete for realizing the double tunnel in Europe. Now we can travel all around Europe by train safely and easily. Of course, it is not perfect, but we can enjoy the peace of Europe now. In closing, let me quote the words by John Lennon, a member of the Beatles. Love is like a flower. You've got to let it grow. A dream you dream alone is only a dream. A dream you dream together is reality. Let us share the same dream together for the world peace and work together to make it grow, to realize this international highway project real. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Otsuka, for this historical overview in such a short time, historical overview of the undersea tunnels in different areas of the world. And also, thank you that you informed us about the progress of the Korea-Japan undersea tunnel and your experiences with organizing the Peace Road in Japan. Now we are really excited to hear more about this topic, and I'm sure we can have the attention of everybody listening now. Let me introduce our second speaker. It is Dr. Juraj Lojda. Dr. Lojda graduated from Brno University in the Czech Republic in 1985. He majored in English and American Studies and in Germanistics. In 1990, he established a publishing house with the name Ideal. Since 2005, he has been the president of the Universal Peace Federation in the Czech Republic, and as such, he initiated and organized and supported over 300 conferences and lectures, and recently he did a dozen of various webinars. He is married and with his wife Erika has 5 children, and they live in Prague. Let me just remark shortly that I myself had a chance to participate in a Peace Road event at the common border of Austria, Germany, and the Czech Republic, where I met Dr. Lojda, who arrived with a group of his compatriots on the top of the mountain after a 4 hours hike, and he still was not out of breath. I'm sure Dr. Lojda will talk more about this in his presentation. Dr. Lojda, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Elisabeth, for introducing me. I am very grateful I was invited to this session. I am honored I can share some of our experiences from our last Peace Road. I would like to speak about our recent experience and project Peace Road among 3 nations. Last June, UPF of Austria, Germany, and the Czech Republic organized a Peace Road on the common border of these 3 nations. The purpose of the Peace Road is to bring peace and reconciliation among nations and people. We are living in a globalized world, and the nations and people should find a way how to live in peace, harmony, and how to cooperate. Unfortunately, there are still conflicts on local or regional levels. We need to overcome resentment and legacy of conflict among nations. The reconciliation process among nations is very important. These were thoughts which brought us to organize a unique Peace Road among 3 neighboring countries. We understand that reconciliation and peace process also need some action. Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic have had a long history of living together as neighbors. Our nations have a very rich and long history, over 1,000 years long. Usually, our nations were living peacefully. However, there were times when there was a lot of suffering and pain in the relationships on both sides. The Second World War was unprecedented in human history. Hitler's Germany attacked many European countries and caused a lot of human tragedies and suffering. This happened also in the Czech Republic. However, after the Second World War, the Germans living in the Czech Republic had to leave the country. The way how it was done and how they were treated was not smooth and created a lot of resentment, hatred, and pain. We needed reconciliation. Now, more or less, this problem of resentment is solved, and our nations can cooperate. Next, there was a time when our nations were divided ideologically and politically. The emergence of communism after the Second World War caused the Cold War. After 40 years, in the year 1989, communism collapsed in Europe and a new era started in this continent. The artificial hatred has been overcome and the European countries started to cooperate. We can see that there are two kinds of problems among our nations to overcome. One was the situation shortly after the Second World War concerning the Germans and Czechs on the national level. And next was later the problem when the countries all over the world were divided as democracy and communism. But what we can see that all these problems, both of these problems, could be overcome. Nevertheless, we should not forget that there is still one country in the world where these problems persist and where the nation and country are divided ideologically and politically. This country is Korea. The 38th parallel still divides the country and is a borderline between communism and democracy. We cannot speak about the peace in the world, about the world peace, if one country is not free and if one country in the world is divided. We hope that it is possible to overcome these obstacles and it is possible to go forward and create a better future. We hope and believe that one day the Korean people will meet and unite as we could meet at the border of our three nations. We hope that our peace road, prepared in cooperation of three nations, will send out a strong signal of hope to the reunification on the Korean Peninsula. We know that since the year 2013, Universal Peace Federation all over the world initiates the Peace Road projects to interconnect nations, countries, and people based on goodwill and desire to create unity. The motto of the UPF is interdependence, mutual prosperity, and universal values. Based on these values, we hope to find the ways the humankind can work together and prosper and gain happiness. We hope that our today's gathering also can contribute to these noble goals. And now I would like to show you a short video from our Peace Road that took place on the border of Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic on the 20th June 2021, on a day which is declared as a Day of the Refugees. Thank you for your attention.
On Sunday, June the 20th, 2021, members of UPF from Germany, Austria, and the Czech Republic met at a common border. After each group had made its way through the mountains which are part of the Bohemian forest, although their ascent was difficult in different ways, the participants from Germany were on the way for 1 hour, and those from the Czech Republic for more than 3 hours were still met almost on time at 1 p.m. for the joint celebration. The representatives of UPF commemorated past conflicts, but also emphasized the importance of forgiveness and reconciliation to break the spiral of violence. It was a deep experience for the almost 100 participants. The oldest participant was 80 years old, the youngest 2 years old.
We are very happy that you came here, so welcome in this special place where 3 nations are coming together.
I would like to remind us today is the World Refugee Day. We stand now in front of this stone, which was erected jointly by 3 nations that 32 years ago were still separated by the Iron Curtain.
Well, I have to be honest, when I walk up here and I look at the scenery, I felt depressed. Because when I look at these trees, I felt it reminded me of the difficult history we had in Europe, in this area. And it almost felt like these trees look at me like suffering souls in the spirit world who had given their lives in hope it was the right thing. But as we know, it was not the right thing. And I tried to pray for them, and I felt deep repentance. Of course, as a German, we feel always repentance of this past. This is an incredible trauma which has hit our nation of Germany. And I felt that maybe we have to use this moment to really make a determination which goes beyond just forgiveness and reconciliation, but for a new future.
You are hardworking for Korean Peninsula, unification of Korean Peninsula. Lord, I think Czech Republic is a way of Hoffnung. Und das Deutschland wahrscheinlich Liebesweg. Und noch ein Österreich, Glaubensweg. Die Bibel steht 3 verschiedene schönste Worte. Und hier, I think, ich denke, hier ist Peace Praise.
Ausgewählt Texte aus dem 13. Jahrhundert, weil sie über alle Grenzen hinweg sind und weil sie nichts beeinflussen, was wir hier erlebt haben, sondern es ist vor unserer Zeit.
We hope that our gathering of 3 nations will contribute to these noble goals. We want to send out a signal for reconciliation and unity on the Korean Peninsula.
Thank you, Dr. Leider, for this beautiful presentation, including the video. The Korean gentleman whom you saw in the video is actually the president of the Korean Association of all of Europe, and he came with the German group, and he was really touched in his heart that the people from Austria, Germany, and Czech would remember Korea's unification on the top of one of the Bohemian mountains. So thank you, Dr. Leider. Now, let us move to our next speaker, and he will take us to the south of Europe, to Albania. Let me introduce Mr. Ali Lache. He is the founder of ERA, which stands for Economic Relief Agency, NGO. He graduated in mechanical engineering from Tirana University and became an expert in regional development designing and leading different regional strategic plans for development. He served as the prefect of the Škoda region in 1999. He was appointed a UPF Ambassador for Peace in 2003 and has been leading national and regional chapters of UPF. Since 2013, he is the co-coordinator of Albania's Peace Council. He is also the founder of the Albanian chapter of Friendship Force International. Mr. Lache, we are looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's a nice day to be with you and to speak about the idea of Peace Road, which in Balkans was launched since 2017, when the Balkan level International Associated Ambassadors for Peace and the International Association of Parliamentarians for Peace was established in September. And it was quite a follow-up of the international IAPP and developed further in the future by aspiring to have a Balkan culture and sports festival. As the first stage of Peace Road Balkans this year, we planned to have the Western Balkan nations as part of its, including Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, former Yugoslav Republic, Macedonia at that time, and now North Macedonia, Serbia, Bosnia, Herzegovina, and finishing with Greece. And organize events in 12 cities. And to apply that idea, finally, 25 young people and very important personalities from 12 representing countries, Albania, Montenegro, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Hungary, Italy, USA, UK, Japan, and Korea, joined the Peace Road bus. It was a wonderful bus, wonderful traveling around. And among very important personalities, we had Dr. and Mrs. Balcom, the chairman of UPF for Europe and Middle East that time, Mr. Jack Corley, a dear friend and leader who took care for a long time for Albanian Ambassadors for Peace, chair of UPF for Eastern Europe, Mr. Giuseppe Zali, chair of UPF for South Europe, Dr. Gacho Apostoli, chair of UPF Albania, and me, of course. The launching of Peace Road Balkans took place on the 1st October into the hall. It was a very big hall of Albanian Parliament. And it went on, the story went on like this one I will show you by this PowerPoint presentation. At the Albanian Parliament in Tirana, Albania, we just demonstrated that strong will of Albanian people around Albania and in Albania itself to be the ambassadors for peace. And it was represented by highest representatives and most evaluated personalities, like the former president, Mr. Moisiu, like our Bektashi leader, which sui generis religious communion in Albania, and former MP, Dr. Professor Shezai Rokai. If you see here, we went into different places to announce the idea, from Tirana to Korça, then from Korça, in Korça you will see a lot of people. Then we went to Škoda, my hometown in the North Albania. And then we went from Škoda to Rožaje through Podgorica, which is 40 kilometers distant from Škoda, but so far away because of religious borders, because of state borders, and because of intrinsic history, which happened during a long time in Balkans, which I would like to call Illyria. When it was peace in these areas, these areas were called Illyrian. And Illyria was a very peaceful civilization, which happened to be in war that time. And from that war with the Roman Empire uprising, we went through difficult times, the whole population of the Balkan Peninsula or Illyrian lands. And now we are blessed with 3 denominations of monotheistic religion. We are blessed with 4 kinds of languages created, newly created, or inherited. But somehow the connection between people remained. And you see in this picture, the mayor, as you saw previously in those towns, the mayor of Rojaje in North Montenegro, who, ethnically speaking, is of Albanian background, and now Montenegrin and a very highly respected personality. And we spoke with them. We just exchanged ideas that what we yearn for is peace, is justice, and it is this kind of brotherhood we knew existed, but we couldn't take for granted because of different systems, economic, political systems, which happen to be applied into Balkans, and different streams fighting for supremacy. From there, we went to Pea, a town which is a wonderful town. People of Pea went through tragedies during the Kosovo War, when a kind of ethnic cleansing happened there by paramilitary troops, and not long ago, but only 20 years ago. And how it was mentioned by a highly appreciated representative of United States, here it is the tectonic area of cultural denominations, civilizations, religions, participations, who were fighting for supremacy. No one was fighting for brotherhood. No one was fighting to love the other. Everyone was fighting to order, to subordinate the other. And from my point of view, it happened when we were looking for a road to development. These areas were underdeveloped. We realized that without peace, you cannot have development. And we went through these areas. We had the chance to touch hands with the mayor of Pristina and a group of young people. And I would like to come slide by slide from Pristina to Skopje. And you see here the mayor of Pristina with Mr. Balcom. It was a very warm welcome for all of us, not only for me, because I am an Albanian, but there were young people from Montenegro, Italy, UK, everywhere, from Hungary, 12 nations, and everyone was treated the same warmth. So we somehow tasted what happens to be Çonilguk. We know that by that name, but what means to build that kingship, heavenly kingship in these areas. So I could say ambassadors for peace are brave people. And thanks God, true parents came to Albania in 2020 in the summit which happened for South Europe, directly upon this event and declare Albania must become a heavenly nation. And the most heavenly mission is to have this road, this stream, this exchange of emotions, of love to each other, of respect to each other. Then we went from here to Skopje. In Skopje, we met different participations, youngsters, who were meeting with the people in the bus and we exchanged the ideas. Then it was a small concert. We had some singers in the open, and then some bike youngsters went through the roads of Skopje. You know, Skopje is a multi-ethnic town. You have there Turks, Albanians, Macedonians, Greeks, Serbs as well. So it was a very nice situation when you met with them, because you had to change even language from Albanian to Serbian to Bulgarian or Macedonian, and all these people enjoyed that in their fullness. Anyhow, I could say when you go to Belgrade, you don't have that big number of ambassadors for peace you would like to meet, because somehow they didn't realize the value of repenting and redemption. They need to go that way. We need to work that way. We, the ambassadors for peace from Europe, have to know that there are as well mothers in black in Belgrade who lost their children at a very young age because they went to fight somewhere in Balkans. And that's the same suffering for Albanian mothers, for Serbian mothers, for Bosnian mothers, for Croatian mothers. So anyhow, there are people of goodwill, you see in these pictures here, who really work for that idea. And they are good friends of ours. They are good ambassadors for peace, and we love them full heart. During this journey, and these are the last assumptions I'd like to address, we had the chance to develop that feeling we share the same area. We share the same soil and waters. And like some good friends here created their initiative, Laios, to apply for defending earth resources, we maybe could find there the Peace Road aim to defend the wonderful Mother Earth resources Balkan, Illyrian countries share. So thank you for your attention. I hope we will meet physically to share more than this. Thank you very much.
Mr. Lache, thank you so much for your presentation. The beautiful pictures gave such a deep impression of your activities in Albania. And thank you for your report about the Balkan Peace Road, which connected to actually all the Balkan countries. So you went beyond Albania, really making an effort to unite the Balkan countries. Also, it is very moving for us to see and to hear that actually the peace ambassadors of Albania got such a high acknowledgement by the government and also by the religious leadership of Albania. So congratulations and thank you for your beautiful report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cook.
From Albania, we move back to Austria. And it is my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, who will be Dr. Asfa Rator, president of LAIOS, and he lives in Austria. Dr. Rator has been working for the United Nations and for the UN Department for Peacekeeping in conflict areas of Africa, the Middle East, South America, and Eastern Europe. After serving the UN for more than 30 years, he resigned and decided to work as a volunteer to implement projects funded by NGOs in the fields of conflict and disaster management, interfaith harmony, poverty alleviation, and many more. He is the president of LAIOS Soil Organization, an Austria-based NGO which proposes solutions for escalating issues of loss of fertile topsoil, land erosion, desertification, environment, and water resources. Dr. Rator, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Cook. Excellencies, distinguished guests, scholars, friends, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome from Vienna. The topic is about the peace, and peace cannot be achieved without first reconciliation. And my previous speaker also talked about reconciliation. I will try to be very brief and tell you something about my life in the UN, but our challenges, frustration, anxiety of losing so many friends while suffering the humanity. Slide number 2, please. Next. However, first I would like to start with the definition of human rights and why it is so important, as we do not voice our concern and help the victim at the right time. Unfortunately, the human rights are very often misused for political mileage and building pressure from a group to another one. We are often silent due to national interests, as we mostly have businesses and other interests, and hence making compromises. I have put it here, the history of what the human rights were, how many treaties we have with, and what were our forefathers thought in 1948 about the human rights, and how it should be implemented. Unfortunately, it is not the case anymore. This is my experience, and I will go again and again on that topic, why there's so many genocides had happened, because of the respect not having for the human rights. Next slide, please. Once upon a time, and when I was a young student, when I finished my study, higher education, I have this Martin Luther King, who once said, "I have a dream." And I also had a dream. That motivated me to join the UN, as well as my family history, who went through the genocide, and combined that have given me the spirit to join the UN and serve the humanity. When I completed my higher education, we few friends who really believed in the UN and the human rights and serving the humanity. And we volunteered to move to the UN peacekeeping missions. I spent a long time to some of the most difficult UN peacekeeping missions, even to the UN peacemaking. One of the UN mission for peacemaking in Somalia, which has the highest number of casualties from the UN during that era in 1994, 93, 94. I will talk in only a few minutes about my experience in Rwanda, as I had a very emotional attachment to Rwanda. And I would like, personally, I would probably need an hours to talk about that, but the time is very limited. So I will only be very, very quick and try to be very brief about it. Next slide, please. Rwanda, the genocide. It started on 7 April 1994 and ended 15 July 1994. We are talking about 100 days. However, that is the thing, genocide took place, and the world community, again, just ignored. We did not resist the Holocaust in 1940s or in 1930 when the Jews were slaughtered, as the excuse was the lack of information or absence of modern media infrastructure. I personally do not agree with that excuse. However, it was not the case in 1990s anymore. The world has seen what is happening in all those areas, but we have to compromise due to the national interest. What was the motive of this genocide? Anti-Tutsi racism, Hutu power. This is ethnic cleansing, which we see again and again in Bosnia-Herzegovina and in so many other parts of the world. Ethnic supremacy, we are talking again, different supremacy. And one thing which probably most of you may not know, this is I call it Franco-Afrique versus Anglophone influence, a proxy war at the cost of innocent human beings. And these were the major factor of this genocide. Next slide, please. The Rwandan genocide was a systematic campaign by the Hutu ethnic majority aimed at wiping out each and every member of the minority Tutsi and Batwa group. The whole genocide duration was 100 days. And the worst atrocity in the human history has been carried out. Again, the world community was just discussing, keeping in mind their national interests while innocent people were killed and raped. I quote here, Martin Luther King once said, "Our life began to end. Our life began to end the day we become silent about things that matter." And that is the problem. We always become silent where we have to be very, very loud. Next slide, please. These are some statistics which you may know. Some of that. The Hutu has killed approximately 800,000 Tutsi before a Tutsi rebel group also took over the government. The Batwa group, which is a very small minority, 30,000, and out of the 30,000, 10,000 of them were also killed. These are called the sometime we forgotten victim of the Rwanda genocide, because nobody talk about the Batwa ethnic group. Also, on the other hand, 150 to 200,000 Hutus were also killed by the Tutsi in so-called the revenge killing. During the conflict, and this is also one of the very, very shameful of our history, that Hutu extremists released hundreds of patients suffering from HIV and AIDS from hospitals and formed them into the so-called rape squads. The intent was to infect and cause a slow death for their future Tutsi rape victim. The Tutsi women were also targeted with the intent of destroying their reproductivity capability. Some experts have also estimated that between 250,000 and 500 women were raped during the genocide, and the world community just were discussing again and again. Next slide, please. This is a picture of a Tarama church in close to Kigali, where 5,000 Tutsis seek refuge, and they were also killed with grenade, machetes, or burnt alive. And that was, the guardhouse where they have took the refuge. But they were not even spared. Next. There is a lot of criticism about the role of the UN, but I would like takes few minutes to explain that it is not the UN, but the United Nations Security Council who made the decision approved by the veto powers, which again looked for their national interests. So we are the human rights and its champion. We just ask, where are they? One of the reasons why this genocide took place, to my subjective opinion, is the weak resolution passed by the United Nations Security Council. Again, the lack of support to the UN peacekeeping mission. Canadian journal, my friend Romeo Dolar, head of the small United Nations assistance mission for Rwanda, so-called UNAMIR, got information. We got the information in January, 4 months before the genocide took place, that the Hutus extremists are planning to kill. And he requested again and again for extra 5,000 troops and a very strong UN mandate, where we do not just need to defend, but also take some action in case of such atrocity. But the United Nations Security Council, again, by the veto power, rejected that request. General Dollier and a lot of UN staff risked their lives to refuge the victim, provided refuge to thousands of Tutsis and moderate Hutus at the UN headquarters, as well as other secure UN headquarters. An intelligence report indicates that United States President Bill Clinton and his cabinet were also aware of the massacre, that a systematic genocide to eliminate all Tutsi was planned. However, fear of a repeat of event in Somalia, which happened a year earlier, where so many Americans were killed, shaped US policy at that time, with the failure to intervene in the later conflicts, such as in Rwanda genocide. Later, President Bill Clinton called one of the greatest regret of his presidency for failing to intervene, which could have saved hundreds and thousands of innocent people. But again, it was not done the case. Next slide, please. This is a building where 10 Belgian UN soldiers were protecting Tutsis minorities, and by defending them, they also were killed by the Hutu extremists. And this is also one of this young Captain Dearnor, who was only 36 years old when he tried also to save a lot of Tutsis from Hutu extremists, and he was also killed just serving, saving their lives. Next slide, please. Rwanda today. Rwanda has two public holidays. We are going now from the past to the future, and we see that reconciliation only bring positive development. Rwandan has realized that only reconciliation and working together between the Hutus and the Tutsi could only achieve development, prosperity, peace, and brotherhood. So Rwanda is right now have two public holidays to mourn the genocide for Tutsis victim as well for the Hutus killing. Progress in reconciliation process has been started for the last 20 years, and there've been a lot of groups are working between Hutus and Tutsi for reconciliation. President Kagame, who was once a rebel leader, Tutsi, pardoned Hutus who admitted their guilt in 2003. So, and because of all that for working together, and so the development life expectancy has doubled in the last decade. Child mortality and HIV rates have been dropped almost drastically, and currently it is less than 3%. Rwanda GDP growth since 2008 has been not the highest in Europe, if I could say. It was up to 2016-17, 8%, and even in 2019, with the Corona COVID-19, their economy was increasing or flourishing with 10.3%. Foreign direct investment is one of the highest in the African country, with almost 385 million even during the COVID time. I just want to share some of the photo. Next slide, please. This is the person Zora, who died 2 years ago at the age of 93. She was a Hutus who saved the life of almost 100 Tutsis by playing that she's a witch and she can destroy the Hutu militia when they try to enter their house. And the next slide, please. This is here the reconciliation, the spirit of reconciliation, which give us hope that we can still achieve a better world for our next generation. A killer and a victim, they are today friends. Elise and Emmanuel, they are friends. And what happened that this guy, he was a Hutu, he killed her daughter and also cut her hand. Today they are working with a group that built simple brick houses for the genocide survivor. I said why I have also emotional attachment, because when I was coming in 1994 from my project, with my bodyguard, I saw a 10-year-old Hutu which was encircled by a lot of Tutsis and who wanted to kill him. I protected him and taking my life into risk and protected this guy. This Jean, he is today 34, 2018. We were in touch. He married to a Tutsi and they are very happily living together. So the reconciliation is going right now. I am also very thankful to Peter Haider and UPF and the women of Bosnia and Herzegovina. This was my next mission, where they motivated me and persuaded me to visit Bosnia Herzegovina and Srebrenica, where I was in 1994, just before this genocide took place. And I tried in 25 years, tried to always to go there and get a peace, but I had not the courage. And I am happy to Peter and the women of the Bosnia-Herzegovina who made the group, and we visited Bosnia-Herzegovina and Srebrenica. And I'm honored to meet the mother of Srebrenica, who are working for the reconciliation. And as long as such spirit exists, ladies and gentlemen, we can hope for a better and bright future for our next generation. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Dr. Rato.
I have.
Ideally, we have to close your presentation.
Okay, this is my last slide. This is the conclusion is as I said, we have to forgive, forget, and look into our next generation. And as Martin Luther King said, I have a dream. And 40 years after his dream, an African American become the president. So I just close with that. Our life began to end the day we become silent about things that matter with Martin Luther King. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time and patience. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rato. We are so moved to hear your personal life story, which is such an example of forgiveness and overcoming pain through actively working for peace. It is really very impressive. Also, we see that how much suffering and pain you saw in your life, and you kept on working and doing greater and greater things. But also your stories remind us that we all need to strive much more for peace in every part of the world, because it only causes suffering and pain. Thank you for your presentation, and I'm sure there will be questions to your report. So from Austria, we move to the east until Russia. And let us welcome our next speaker, Mr. Dmitry Samko. Mr. Samko has served as the chairman of Universal Peace Federation Moscow since 2011. He has been very active in many different social and cultural peace projects, which many of them he himself initiated. For example, Play Football, Make Peace, or Sports for Peace, and also Mr. and Miss University. The Universal Peace Federation Moscow has received many letters of gratitude from the city government, and Mr. Samko has received the highest degree for leading a non-profitable organization. As we heard today already from Dr. Otsuka, in autumn 2019, UPF Moscow even managed to organize a peace road project in the capital of North Korea, Pyongyang. Mr. Samko is married and has two lovely sons. Mr. Samko, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elisabeth. I will speak in Russian language. Дорогие коллеги, уважаемые организаторы, спасибо, что пригласили меня на эту замечательную программу. Теплый привет вам из Москвы, и всем слушателям тоже большой привет. Уже третий день мы рассуждаем о ситуации на Корейском полуострове и рассматриваем варианты, как другие страны могут помочь. А если посмотреть глубже, насколько далеко могут и готовы идти главные игроки на политической карте мира. Сегодня, в эпоху потрясения пандемии коронавируса, сплотились ли сверхдержавы перед лицом смертельной угрозы? Есть ли у ведущих политиков, у экономических, телекоммуникационных, цифровых гигантов общий подход к решению проблемы, в том числе и в вопросах объединения Кореи? В прошлом году мы отмечали 75-летие Организации Объединенных Наций и 75-летие окончания Второй мировой войны, Великой Отечественной войны. 68 лет назад, 27 июля, именно в день начала нашей нынешней конференции, в Пханмунджоне было подписано Корейское соглашение о перемирии. Как думаете, с течением многих лет приближаемся ли мы к объединению Кореи? А насколько мировые центры силы становятся ближе сейчас? На мой взгляд, разногласий и противоречий становится все больше. Чего-то явно не хватает. Попытки одной сверхдержавы по сближению стран и глобальной интеграции, например, китайский «один пояс, один путь», наталкиваются на сильное противостояние с другой стороны. Буквально недавно, 12 июля, в Брюсселе министры иностранных дел Европейского Союза договорились о запуске масштабного проекта «Глобально подключенная Европа» в качестве противовеса новому шелковому пути Китая. Не слишком ли грустную картину я в начале своего выступления нарисовал? Позвольте теперь перейти к самой сути моего выступления, к возможным решениям, а именно к уникальности проекта «Шоссе мира». Наш основатель доктор Мун славится своим даром предвидения и пророчества. Когда-то давно он сказал: Международное шоссе мира – грандиозный проект, который соединит Корею с Японией посредством подводного тоннеля. В этот проект также входит строительство моста или тоннеля через Берингов пролив, разделяющий Россию и Северную Америку. Эти международные шоссе помогут объединить наш мир. Когда он будет построен, вы сможете проехать на машине от африканского мыса Доброй Надежды до чилийского Сантьяго, от Лондона до Нью-Йорка. На этом пути не будет никаких преград, весь мир будет связан между собой. На фотографии как раз можете видеть африканский мыс Доброй Надежды и флаг шоссе мира. За последние годы проект шоссе мира поразил своими масштабами и реальными перспективами по сближению народов и стиранию границ. В нашей стране шоссе мира прогремело в 2015 году, когда команды из 4 энтузиастов, наших коллег, проехали через всю Россию на автомобиле от Санкт-Петербурга до Владивостока. Годом ранее, еще до старта шоссе мира в нашей стране, на самом высоком уровне прошел автопробег «Россия-Корея» в составе команды, пересекшей исторический момент на машинах 38-ю параллель, был и наш посол мира Феликс Ким. Трудно нам было представить, что буквально через несколько лет и мы сами будем организовывать проект шоссе мира в сердце КНДР в городе Пхеньяне. Наша группа из 12 человек, включавшая спортсменов из Москвы и Владивостока, провели несколько незабываемых дней в сентябре 2012 года в Северной Корее. Проект шоссе мира был тепло принят, и более того, принимающая сторона предложила в следующий раз приехать уже с международной делегацией разных стран, включая Европу и США. Так что, дорогие участники, ждем окончания пандемии и готовимся к шоссе мира в Пхеньяне 2022. Первая часть нашего шоссе мира состояла из велопробега через Пхеньян. Мы проехали не только по красивым туристическим местам, но и рабочими кварталами, где иногда перемешивались с местными велосипедистами. Это было незабываемо. Вторая часть шоссе мира была беговая. В рамках любительского осеннего марафона мы пробежали различные дистанции с логотипом шоссе мира на наших майках. Тут на фотографии вы можете видеть перед стартом на 42 километра и вашу покорному слугу. Я там еще, улыбаясь, не знал, что предстоит мне преодолеть за эти 4 беговых часа. Но примечательно, что на старте было много бегунов из разных уголков мира. Никогда бы не подумал ранее, что это вообще возможно. Воистину, спорт объединяет. Эта конференция наша еще раз демонстрирует, что спорт, искусство, культура могут быть действенными инструментами по сближению народов. Очевидно, что для объединения Корейского полуострова нужна всесторонняя помощь, в том числе и наша с вами, дорогие друзья. Тем более в нынешнюю цифровую эпоху возможности даже одного неравнодушного энтузиаста безграничны. И в качестве короткой иллюстрации позвольте привести мне буквально несколько примеров. Наши послы мира уже который год гордо несут флаги и идеи шоссе мира в разные уголки планеты. Велосипедист Ильдус Янышев из Казани совершил кругосветное путешествие через всю Европу, США и Азию на велосипеде. Пока Ильдус был за пределами России, Алексей Костюченко, человек с инвалидностью, прикованный к креслу, проехал 10 тысяч километров по всей России за 2 года на ручном велосипеде с флагом шоссе мира и умудрялся еще делать публикации в Фейсбуке регулярно каждый день, и наш логотип шоссе мира гремел по нашей большой стране. Такие проекты привлекли тысячи людей через социальные сети и местные СМИ. Идеи объединения и шоссе мира принимаются людьми разных социальных групп, религиозных и политических взглядов. Все же есть какая-то магия в нашем проекте шоссе мира, дорогие друзья. Еще одним ярким подтверждением этого является наш посол мира Евгений Кутузов, который совершает пешие благотворительные походы, сверхмарафоны по России, связывая разные уголки нашей огромной страны. 2 месяца назад его сбила машина, представляете? Но как только его выписали из больницы после операции, он не остановился, он продолжил свой путь уже на хэндбайке. Один человек, окрыленный светлой идеей, смог сплотить вокруг себя десятки тысяч людей. Это поразительно, дорогие друзья. В заключение несколько ярких примеров, как проект шоссе мира разрушает границы там, где их в последние годы насаждали недалекие политики. Узнаете ли вы эти флаги в руках бегунов? Посмотрите внимательно на экран. За несколько дней мы добежали из Москвы до границ 3 братских стран – Россия, Беларусь и Украина. В то же время бегуны из Киева и Минска также бежали к монументу «Три сестры». Трудно передать словами наши эмоции и ощущение вот этого братства и гордости за проект шоссе мира. 2 года назад мы открыли новое направление для шоссе мира. Наша небольшая команда побежала из Санкт-Петербурга в Таллин и Ригу, получая огромную поддержку и одобрение в Прибалтике. Вообще между Россией и балтийскими странами, это Эстония, Латвия, Литва, пролегает та самая граница между Евросоюзом и нашей страной. Это серьезная граница между нами. Но я верю в мечту нашего основателя доктора Муна, что не за горами тот день, когда мы с вами сможем без всяких виз, настороженных взглядов, каких-то недопониманий ездить или бегать друг к другу в гости. И на заключительном слайде моего короткого выступления вы можете видеть старт детско-юношеского сверхмарафона «Я выбираю спорт. Дети против наркотиков», который реализуется уже много лет в партнерстве с Федерацией за всеобщий мир. Каждый год наша команда из 50 человек в течение 2 недель эстафетным бегом преодолевает более 1000 километров по разным городам России, неся идеи мира, честного и чистого спорта. Мы популяризируем среди молодежи здоровый образ жизни как альтернативу наркомании и виртуальной зависимости. Сейчас для молодежи, как вы знаете, это огромная проблема. Цифровая зависимость, гаджеты, спорт – это реально нужная альтернатива. Помимо того, что я сам лично пробегаю 200 километров за эти 2 недели, стараюсь максимально наполнить социальные сети, местные средства массовой информации контентом о этом пробеге. Я могу с уверенностью сказать, что один человек с ноутбуком или даже с телефоном может достучаться до десятков тысяч людей. А когда нас с вами так много, как сегодня на этой конференции, думаю, серьезные перемены, в том числе и историческое сближение Кореи, вопрос ближайших нескольких лет. Дорогие друзья, спасибо большое за внимание. Буду рад обсудить с вами. Пожалуйста, подписывайтесь на хэштег PeaceRoad в Facebook, Instagram и посмотрите короткое минутное видео о том, как мы бежали вот буквально совсем недавно, еще в июне. Спасибо большое.
Thank you, Mr. Samkov, for your very interesting report and that you let us know of all the activities the Russian Moscow UPF performed. It was especially interesting to hear about the Pyongyang Peace Road, and I just imagine how the North Korean citizens must have been interested in those young people running through Pyongyang or cycling through Pyongyang. And also we could hear from you what each of us can do to promote the Peace Road ideal, that we can share it on the internet. Thank you so much. So this was also the last presentation. And now we have about 15 minutes to ask questions to the presenters. So I would like to ask all the presenters to come on the screen. And I would like to ask the first question actually to Dr. Otsuka. The first question is, how can the Peace Road initiative bring peace to the world?
Okay, thank you very much for a good question and very essential question. One of the big challenges for peace is how to communicate each other well. If we understand each other, we can realize peace. We can get to know each other well, we can realize peace. Just get to know each other, communication, exchange, give and take. These are the key words for realizing peace. If we get to know each other, we can share the same empathy, togetherness, and to the spirit to work for others. That is why the Peace Road is the most essential part of the peace realizing in the world. That's what I believe. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. Maybe another question for Dr. Otsuka. In how many countries was the Peace Road realized, and which countries support this initiative most?
The Peace Road event has been organized in almost all over the countries in the world. I don't know the Korean number, but as far as I understand, several years ago, it expanded 100 countries, 100 nations in the world, more than that. Recently, most well-organized, well-designed Peace Road event was made in Korea, in Japan. Most gigantic project was always made by Russia and the USA. And most charming Peace Road event was organized by European nations. Most surprising Peace Road event is always organized in Africa. most interesting the Peace Road event was always organized in Asia. These are the realities. So to have a contest of the Peace Road event is another very charming, very attractive event. That's what I think it now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your answer. There is a question for Dr. Juraj Leider. The question is a bit long, but what practical steps do you propose to unite North and South Korea? How do you see the role of each of the countries in the United Korea? And how exactly can the Peace Road initiative help unify Korea? Actually, these are 3 questions. And the questions are asked by Professor Natalia Romashkina, head of the Informational Security Problems Department of the Primakov National Research Institute of World Economy and International Relations, IMEMO, of the Russian Academy of Sciences, corresponding member of the Russian Academy of Military Sciences. So, Dr. Leider, first question, what practical steps do you propose to unite North and South Korea? We don't hear your voice at the moment. We don't hear anything.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor Romashkina, for your questions. I remember you a couple of weeks ago, you were on our webinar organized by UPF, and I liked your presentation very much. To answer your question is not, easy. We cannot have only easy answers, but I will start from the third question. You're asking about the Peace Road. For me, Peace Road creates incredible power, energy, and desire to do reconciliation and unity. People participating in this Peace Road generate incredible enthusiasm and investment. And I do believe that this can have an impact on people in the world to take care of the problem. You know, that somebody is taking care that this problem is existing, and we try through this initiative and activity to solve the problem or to create the energy and environment for solving the problem in a peaceful way. So this is the first question. Next, you were asking about this, what I understand that South and North Korea should do, as I understand. So I think that both sides should overcome many prejudices against each other. And this should be overcome based on a common purpose to overcome also own interests and all purposes. So they should think more like for the others and for a common purpose, not individualistically for one nation or for the other nation. And finally, was what can we do, I think, why this Peace Road? I think something like this was the question. I think that the Peace Road can involve more nations and awaken the global awareness about this problem. You know, that also the global community is concerned. And as we heard in the previous webinar, I think the Koreans would appreciate that somebody is taking care, somebody is aware, and somebody wants to help them because maybe they don't know how to do it. They are searching for the ways. But I think as a global humanity, as a one family under one heaven, we should help. This is my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Leider, for your answer. There is a question for Mr. Dimitri Samko. You did this Peace Road event in Pyongyang, and you did many Peace Road events in Russia. What are your immediate plans for the future to support the Korean unification? And did you get any concrete feedback after the Peace Road in Pyongyang? What was the reaction from North Korea or South Korea? So 2 questions actually.
Спасибо большое за вопрос. Да, на удивление была очень теплая реакция со стороны принимающей стороны и туристического агентства. Более того, они говорят, приезжайте еще и привозите с собой международную делегацию. И очень бы хотелось, что когда закончится пандемия, возможно, это будет 22 год, я предполагаю, сентябрьский осенний марафон 22 года, я всех приглашаю принять участие, и мы посодействуем в том, чтобы международная делегация поехала. У нас есть в этом решимость. И более того, у меня возникла вообще идея, вот я смотрел выступления коллег из Европы, сделать большое объединяющее шоссе мира через Россию, Балтийские страны, Восточную Европу, Балканы, как эстафета Олимпийского огня, когда все бегут с факелом. Мы также можем побежать с флагом шоссе мира, передавая эту эстафету, в том числе на границе передадим. И вот этот флаг, как бы было бы здорово, если бы он пробежал бы там из Москвы на Балканы, на Восточную Европу. И этот флаг бы сделал 1000 километров, объединяя нас всех, разных людей. И на следующей конференции мы уже бы смотрели фотографии с этого проекта. Вот у меня такие идеи, они меня вдохновляют, и очень бы хотелось найти единомышленников, кто бы это поддержал. Спасибо большое.
Thank you so much. This is really hopeful. And there is a question for Mr. Lache. Mr. Lache, the question is, how do Albanian people relate to Korea? Do they
interesting question
in Korea, and do the Peace Road projects in Albania contribute to wake the awareness of the Albanian people of the Korean situation?
It's a very nice question, and I guess I will give a full picture about that. Even in different ends of the globe, Albania and Korea have so many things in common. Both of them are common law people. They developed the tribal law for a long, long time, and they had kingdoms, prosperous kingdoms in certain periods of history. Then they were occupied for very long times from different empires. And it happened to Korea, it happened to Albania. Albania had occupation from Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, Ottoman Empire, and Communist Empire. And at the same time, Korea had quite the same destiny. And nowadays, Korea is a country divided, and Albanians are a nation divided. Korea is a multi-religious people. Albania as well is a multi-religious people, which means we offer the same heart to the notion of divinity, of what comes as a message. And through the sufferings, there comes the message. They say, if you want to hear something wise, don't ask the one who learned the highest schools. Ask the one who learned through suffering. And both the nations suffered. Up to recent times, when they received true parents, they were a nation in dark because they didn't know what to aim for and how to resolve the most difficult question, how to connect to the other half. And Albanians aspire for the same thing. And we will do that, both of the nations, in a very peaceful way, thinking about the other as for ourselves, which is the teachings of this Peace Road mission. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And the last question goes to Dr. Rathor. Many Peace Road projects were introduced now, short videos were shown. What is your impression about these projects, and how can you see that they contribute to Korea's unification?
Yes, very interesting question. Yes, I have my own also idea. In the last webinar, I have presented something that the owner should also, when we talk about the reunification, there should be a roadmap developed with certain time limits. And also we have to involve, because we are talking a lot. And when I talk about the experience of my life, I saw the failure in the UN mission all happen when there was a military intervention, or where the military was the decision maker. I think we have to talk also to other side. And one of my recommendations was, when we have to have another conference in Korea, it should take place in North Korea. We should give also the ownership to the North Korean. We should involve to them. And when they feel that there is an ownership and really working relation between us, there should then there will be a hope that we will be sitting together and talking. And I think there are a lot of other mechanisms we should also be activated in order to achieve that objective. And I think this is a very long presentation, and I don't want to talk about that. We are running out of the time. So yes, there will be, and I think we are going to have a webinar on end of August about that, and I have a presentation about the roadmap for the reunification of Korea, and you all are most welcome to join it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rathod. Definitely you should be in North Korea at the conference, and we are looking forward to see you there.
Thank you.
I think there's one short video still to be seen, which belonged to Mr. Samko's presentation, and I would ask that we show this video now.
Приволжская, Ивановская область, прекрасная встреча, торжественная атмосфера. Is plus 33, 34, very hot, but we keep our health, we continue our running.
Thank you so much. So many beautiful impressions. Thank you, Mr. Samko. We are coming to the close of our conference. So let me invite Mr. Jacques Marion to close up our meeting. Mr. Marion is a French citizen, but born in Africa, in Cameroon. He has worked for 12 years with the unification movement programs in Africa, but also in China from 1998 to 2006. As the Vice President of the International Educational Foundation in Beijing. From 2006 to 2013, he served as Secretary General of UPF Eurasia, based in Moscow. Currently, he is the co-chair of UPF Europe and the Middle East, and President of UPF France. Mr. Marion, the floor is yours. You are muted at the moment.
Thank you very much, Elisabeth, and thank you, distinguished panelists, dear participants. I want to warmly thank you for all the panelists for your very inspiring presentations. Really, Peace Road is at the root of conflict resolution, and I hope that we can continue this project truly around the world. We are now closing this July International Leadership Conference on the topic Track 2 Diplomacy Initiatives toward a peaceful reunification of the Korean Peninsula. Together with Europe and the Middle East, this conference has been held simultaneously in Korea, in Japan, in the Asia-Pacific region, in Africa, and in North and South America. So it's a worldwide effort that we are going through today. Beginning on July 27, we held 8 webinars with eminent speakers representing various fields of expertise, including diplomats, scholars, religious leaders, NGO representatives, business, women and youth leaders, and experts in art and culture. They enlightened us and gave us hope with their perspective and analysis on the potential for peace and reconciliation in Korea. To conclude this July conference, I would like now to introduce Dr. Michael Balcom, who will give us some closing remarks. Dr. Balcom currently serves as the regional president of the Family Federation for World Peace for the combined 72 nations of Europe, the Middle East, and Eurasia. Previously, he served as the president of the Family Federation in the United States. He was born in Nigeria, educated in England and the US, and he and his wife, Fumiko, have 5 children, and we really appreciate their great support for UPF activities in this region. Dr. Balcom, the floor is yours for your final.
Thank you very much, Jacques, and thank you to all our presenters today. You know, Peace Road is really one of my favorite projects, and I can't help but begin by giving you a brief update on the Peace Road that's going to start in the UK from tomorrow, the Peace Road UK 2021, which is a coast-to-coast peace walk for national unity along the ancient Hadrian's Wall path, which is 1900 years old next year. And it's quite a long walk. It's about 200 kilometers, and we'll be walking every single day. So not as much as Dmitry Samko and the Russian ultramarathoners, but still, I think a very creditable effort. And, you know, when I was preparing for this, I noticed an interesting similarity between the course of Hadrian's Wall and even the shape that the track and the course of the DMZ in Korea. And I was further intrigued to find that the distance is about the same. And, you know, it made me realize that some of the problems that we have in our world haven't changed much in almost 2,000 years. We have this problem of wanting to separate and keep apart from people who are different than we are. Now, Hadrian, he was a bit of a scoundrel, really, and he's well known for his wall, which when he built it was a massive construction that tried to separate the unruly Scots and the Caledonians in the north of the country from Britannia and the Roman held territory in the south. Interestingly, today, 2,000 years later, there's the question of whether Scotland will try to become independent from England after many hundreds of years of being in peaceful unity. Today, the wall is not that impressive. There's about 30 kilometers of it left, and it goes over some of the most wild and beautiful countryside of Britain, starting on this Sunday in Carlisle. This is Carlisle Castle. It's the most besieged castle in the United Kingdom. It's much younger than the wall. It's only 900 years old, so almost a baby, really. We'll be walking along through the country, looking at the scenes of many signs of Roman occupation, and finally coming to the city of Newcastle, which is the end of the wall, and to Wall's End, which is the final destination and the coast. So I mentioned that because, as I said, as I've been participating in this ILC series, it's given me a lot of reflection about this topic of Korean reunification and what we can do about it. And, you know, my first realization is that, let's be honest, governments haven't been able to accomplish much. In 1988, I went to Korea at the time of the Olympic Games. I met with the British ambassador at that time, and he said, look, I'll be honest with you, there's no will among any of the governments for unification. It won't be accomplished even in the next 30 years. I thought he was hopelessly pessimistic, but actually he was right. However, just because governments haven't been able to succeed, we've heard why civil society groups of all kinds shouldn't hesitate to make their contribution. And we've heard possible roles for a whole variety of civil groups. Women, yesterday, I was happy to join the First Ladies for Peace seminar led by Carolyn Hanchin, and to hear from many remarkable women who've overcome great difficulty personally, including personal tragedy, in order to be peacemakers in their country. We've looked at the role of faith groups. And, you know, often faith becomes a point of division. There needs to be an effort, and this is something that our UPF founder talks often about, of how faith groups come together. We've heard about the importance of humanitarian efforts, because after all, North Korea is currently one of the most impoverished countries on earth. We heard how sanctions from the UN and the US end up hurting some of the poorest people of North Korea. And that led us to a discussion of the role of entrepreneurs, British business, private enterprise to bring a new economic hope to North Korea. And yesterday we heard about the role of youth. We were reminded that with the Koreans, the two Koreas now separated for 71 years, none of the current leadership generation of Korea, and certainly none of the young people, can remember what it was like to be a united country. However, Korean culture is spreading throughout the world. Just last night, I came home and watched a documentary about BTS, a phenomenon throughout the world. And that brings us to the role of culture and art and North-South projects such as the ones we've heard about today, the Peace Road, and the idea of creating a peace park, a UN peace park in the demilitarized zone. So with that in mind, in conclusion, I realize that hard power efforts have made little difference. And I think really the main reason has been a zero-sum approach. I win, you lose. If you win, it means that I lose. And, you know, the Koreans are a proud people. You know, whatever we may think about North Korea, it's a country that's made incredible technological process. We need to respect and honor the nations as they are and not take a zero-sum approach. But soft power also requires an openness and a dignity to all sides. It cannot be that we take the position, you're poor, you're destitute, let us help you out, we know better. That approach will also bring about no results. And well, of course, I'm thinking about this a lot as I prepare to walk along Hadrian's Wall. We need to build bridges and tunnels and connections rather than walls. And sometimes, you know, this seems like it might be a futile effort. When I was a young man, I often went to Berlin. I participated in several peace rallies at the Berlin Wall. And at the time, it seemed like it would just be a voice crying in the wilderness, you know, taken away in the wind. But to our surprise, within a couple of years, the Berlin Wall came down, Germany was reunited. At that time, we believed that Korea would follow soon. And although it didn't, I believe that that time is coming. And I think the work of UPF to explore all these different avenues is tremendously significant. Our UPF founder, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, says, peace starts with me. So I believe our cumulative efforts, even though they may appear small, even though they may appear to be disparate, they're making a difference. So I want to thank everybody for joining. It's been a bit of a marathon over the last 3 days. We've had, I think, 9 sessions. Thank you to all the speakers, the panelists, thanks to the tech staff and the interpreters behind the scenes. Thank you, Mr. Marion and the UPF team. I'm actually looking forward to the next set of ILCs in August, and I think you're probably going to share more about it. So let me conclude here with gratitude and appreciation, and I'll be updating you with pictures from that massive wall across Britain. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Balcom. Thank you for your stimulating words, and we wish you great success in your Peace Road event in England. And
I'm getting my hiking boots ready.
Thank you very much. Please keep us informed. So now we have come to the conclusion. Let me just inform you briefly about this upcoming program that was talked about. We do have one more series of webinars coming up from August 19 to 21. The first theme of this next ILC will be prospects for economic development and peace. And we'll start on August 19. We will have 2 sessions on that day. One on the Japan-Korea undersea tunnel project that was mentioned already before today. And the other one, the Bering Strait undersea tunnel project between Russia and the United States. As you understand, these 2 projects are very important, and they are founding projects for our organization, UPF. On the second day, on August 20th, we'll have a 3rd session on the theme of prospects for a Northeast Asian economic union, economic community, and then a 4th session on the potential and benefits of trade and business activities with North Korea. And then we will have a second sub-theme that will begin on Friday afternoon. That will be the impact of ideologies and worldviews on conflict resolution on the Korean Peninsula. And we'll have our session 5 on the role of worldviews, ideologies, and values of key stakeholder nations in the process of reunification on the Korean Peninsula. And then on the last day, on the third day, August 21st, we will have one session on the theme of how can the Korean people's common history and culture contribute to peace on the peninsula? This is some of the questions that were raised today. What are the ways? How can we think that Korea, North and South, could come together? This is a reflection on a more fundamental level. And then we will have the last session, the number 7, as the role of the media in contributing to peace in Korea and Northeast Asia. So again, we are inviting prominent speakers to address these issues. We hope you will be able to reserve some of your time during those 3 days to be on Zoom with us. And these webinars will actually lay the ground for the celebration of the 9th anniversary of our founder, Dr. Moon's ascension, which is at the end of August. We'll have more programs and we'll keep you informed about these programs. And meanwhile, I wish you a great and joyful time with your family during this summer. Again, I thank you very much for your participation. I thank all the panelists for all the webinars and all the participants today and before. And please keep in good health. And I say goodbye to you and see you in August. Thank you very much.